Hi, friends, it's Isabel, your life coach, and my dream is to stretch your mind to see what's possible in your life and to help you to achieve it and get you one step closer. All right, so today I want to share how to become a little more emotionally resilient. This whole past year, even the beginning of this year, right? So many things happened in the world, in this country, in your life, in your children's lives that were really difficult to deal with. So how do we get up from I can't take anymore to let's start another day, right? There are ways to do that, and I'm gonna walk you through and give you some ideas. All right. So last year, some of the things, right? Big things were Corona, elections, riots. Maybe you had financial stress. Maybe your kids, if you have children, were in virtual school. All the uncertainty with that. Maybe your marriage was struggling. You just had lost your job, or your family member lost a job, or you lost a loved one. Those are extremely high stressors, right? So, first thing is we always validate those feelings, right? And there's a difference between validating, which is what I do as a coach, and feeling sorry for, right? We're good with that. You can always call a friend and ask them to feel sorry with you. So, as a coach, I want to see that you can validate your own feelings as a first step, and also to recognize how we deal with them. There has been an increase in watching Netflix, right? I don't have the numbers or the percentage, um, but those, subscriptions have gone up, right? We want to see something different. Of course, the movie theaters are shut down too. That doesn't help, but also we want to distract ourselves from how we feel, right? Um, I have a friend who sells wine as her home business. Her year was good because people are drinking more alcohol, right? There's also more divorces, and there's also more children failing their school classes, right? So let's just take one practical example, right? Um, I want you to think of your most recent strong emotion, and it's usually a negative emotion, right? In quotation marks that we think of because that's how our brains are wired. We remember the negative, and we have to train ourselves to remember the positive. But take your most recent strong emotion, right? So pause a second and think of it, right? Once you have that, you perceive that as a threat, whatever it was, right? Whatever situation you chose, you perceived it as a threat, and I'm I'm not like going into brain science here, but your amygdala, right, in your lower brain reacts to stress, and it's supposed to. That's what it's meant to do, right? So it fires off, right, signals. So your heart rate goes up, your breathing becomes faster, your muscles tense up, and you're in fight or flight, right? You exactly know what I'm talking about. You've been there. And that is actually a good thing because your body needs to be um, in a, let's say you get attacked by somebody on the street or whatever, or, I've heard the example, our ancestors were attacked by a wild animal. Well, then you want to be able to run fast, and you want your blood pumping in your body and in your muscles, and you want all the blood to go from your brain to your muscles and your feet and your legs to run, right? So just know that when that happens, y- your brain is hijacked pretty much. You're not thinking. It's just a physical reaction and off you go. So that's a good thing. If you're in that situation, our situations aren't usually life threatening. They're, like I said, perceived as a threat. Okay? So I'm going to give you some examples later. Also, what if this becomes chronic, right? Then you're just firing all those stress hormones, and then you become physically sick, right? Emotionally, mentally, physically, it affects all of you. So, what if you or someone you know overreacts regularly? Overreacts about everything, right? You drop something and phew, they fly off the wall. So, you know, they've been in stress mode. So, then what? We validate the feelings, right? And then what? So, Rick Warren he's a pastor in California, Saddleback Church. He always talks about feel it to heal it. And it's so true. And you can remember that because it rhymes. You have to feel it to heal it, right? So, for example, it might be a silly example, but I'm just going to share it because it was recent. So, I had um, cleaned up a cabinet that had all kinds of water bottles and things that unmatched and missing lids, and nobody was using them, and they were old. So I thought I'd do something good and I cleaned them up, right? And I threw out a lot of stuff and I kept those that I thought were good to keep, put them in a different cabinet. But then my husband comes to me and he asked if I had seen some lids to one of those. It's like a small personal electric mixer for smoothies, and they come with a lid after you're done mixing. They come with a lid so you can store it in the fridge. And I said, well, maybe they were in there. I don't know. I just what didn't have a partner or wasn't matching. And then he complained. Now, in the past, I would have gone on the extreme defensive and become loud, and probably it would have become a fight, right? Because of my upbringing. And that's another video. But reacting is what I would have done in the past. Okay. Um, because criticism was something I was bombarded with in part of my childhood. Okay, that's another time, another video for another time. So, again, your brain in that moment, when you feel a perceived threat, right, you go into survival, right? Fight or flight. So, you defend yourself or you shut down or you, whatever you do. Some of you just shut down or some of you get loud and fight, right? So, you know how you react. And a mentor once called this the hijacked brain, like I mentioned before. So if you see yourself go in that, you really cannot reason with a person in that state, be it yourself or your spouse or your child. At that moment, you cannot reason with them. Logic is out the window. Just know that, and it takes a while to calm down. So in my mind, I was thinking, I get a little insight here. He shouldn't be complaining. Um, he shouldn't think this of me, and he should be happy that I cleaned up, right? So those are thoughts. Let me repeat that. Those are thoughts. And those thoughts cost me to feel something. Not what he said, not what I did, but those thoughts about what happened cost me to feel. Again, those are thoughts. Very important. I want to stress that. So instead of um, going into fight or flight, I might have said something, I don't remember what I said, but I wasn't getting loud and I decided to leave the room because I know how I could get drawn into this and defend myself louder. Somehow we do that. We think when we get louder, we get heard, right? That's all we want. We want to be heard. So I chose to leave the room and process those feelings. And then a good question to ask is for those thoughts, right? Are those really true? Is that really true? What is true is a good question to ask. So let's say, for example, here's the examples I promised you. Okay, my child failed a class. That could trigger you, right? My spouse doesn't fight fair. My country's divided. My ex doesn't care about my kids. Right? Those are just a few examples. I'm sure you can add a million of your own. Then you ask yourself, is that true? And the problem usually is not that it isn't true, but that we don't want it to be true. So there is a conflict between what is true and what we want to be true. You don't want your child to have failed the class. You don't want your spouse to fight unfair, and you don't want the country to be divided, and you want your ex to care for your children. But it's not the truth. So ask yourself, is that really true? And the next big step and difficult is to accept what the what is to accept the truth. You don't have to like it, you don't have to agree with it, but you can train yourself to accept it. Okay? Um, so in my example, I was feeling unvalidated and I wanted to defend myself, right? So to accept that is important, right? And also, let's say your child really did fail a class, then what? Or your ex really doesn't care about your kids, then what? The country really is divided, then what? Right? A lot of stress is really in that area of the what is and what we want it to be, right? That conflict. So just know that it's in between those two is where we feel the stress. So big step is really to accept. All right. Of course, it's easy to say don't stay in that place, but that's where we are, right? That's where our mind goes. We just wish it to be different, right? So part of the self-regulation and the emotional resilience is the self-acceptance or the acceptance of what is, right? Accepting and validating your feelings and accepting the truth of what is in your outside circumstance. For example, right? So my child failed a class, and what else is true? What else is true? He did his best. He or she did his best. My spouse doesn't fight fair. And what else is true? He's good at doing his job. My country is divided. And what else is true? I can create peace in myself, within myself, and unity between me and my family members, right? My ex really does not care about my children. And what else is true? They need one caring adult for them to grow up healthy. And you can read more on that by Josh Ship. He has wonderful material on that, and um, his idea is there's a one caring adult. Every child is one caring adult away from being healthy. So that is also the truth, right? So you see, you have the truth, and you add what else is true. Does that make sense? Please ask any questions in the comments below. I would love to hear your takeaway and maybe some questions that came up or what you need help with. So just a few ideas at the end before we wrap up is how do you calm your nervous system? And Dr. Gottman has done a lot of research. His research was in marriages, but it goes for everybody. So when you're in that fight or flight state, you need 20 minutes to physically calm your nervous system down. How do you do that? Different ways, right? For example, and this is not an all exclusive list, these are just ideas. Maybe you need sleep. Maybe you need more sleep or a nap. Maybe you need more exercise. Maybe you can take a walk. Maybe some calming music or some loud music, right? Talking with a friend. Maybe you need supplements, vitamins, playing, right? The importance of playing. Do you have enough play in your life? Laughing. Maybe you can watch a funny YouTube video or play with your pet, right? Petting a pet might calm you down. Meditating, right? And those things cause the release of happy hormones, right? The serotonin and the dopamine, right? You get a release of those happy hormones. So make sure you have things in your life where these are being released and add them very intentionally, right? If you need help with that, I can help you with that. So that's part of self-regulation, and it just gives you an idea of what you can do. So another idea is to work with a coach, and this is what I love to do, one-on-one, right? Work with you. If you want to, give me a message, send me a message, and we can set up a discovery call. And also, if you know a friend who could benefit from this video, share it with them, and also click the little bell to subscribe to this channel so you can get a notification whenever a new video is up. And it will be every Monday evening. All right, so we'll close And I hope you have something that you can take away with. I want you to do one thing different this week. So do one step towards the goal you set for yourself this week. One step closer, okay? You're loved, deeply loved, and loved beyond measure. See you next week. Bye bye.